Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog. This video has layers to it because obviously ultimately it's called What I Read in a Week and you will get that information. However, I did try and challenge myself in multiple different ways to do multiple different reading challenges. We are going to be using a spinner wheel to decide how many pages I read every single day. Now, I don't really have a method to this. I put in numbers ranging from 50 to 300 on a spinner wheel on my computer, and we're just gonna spin it every single day. This month, I am prioritizing my physical TBR and trying to get that number down. I'm currently in the middle of Next to You by Hannah Young. Surprisingly, it's the only book I'm in the middle of. So this is what we're going to start with today. We're going to spin the wheel. Let me screen record. Ready, set, go. Yikes. Okay. We're starting with 250 pages today, which means we'll finish this book, I assume. This book has 341 pages and I'm on page 102. So we're just finishing this book and then some. It is currently 11 a.m. so we have all day to read. I do have to work later today, so obviously I can't get reading done in that time, but I should be able to get a bulk of it done this morning. So let's get to it, I guess. Let's start reading. I'm in the parking lot for work, but I brought my book with me because I have about 10 minutes to read, and also I knew I was going to film this update. It is currently 2 p.m. I'm on page 200. So I've read about 100 pages. Currently 11 p.m. And in order to finish the challenge for the day, which was 250 pages, I need to read about 110 more. Still in the middle of Next to You by Hannah Young. This book follows Matt and Lane, and Lane is kind of dealing with this grief that she's been dealing with for the past decade after the loss of her dad, and so she doesn't really let herself get close to anyone or do things she actually wants because she doesn't want to lose the thing she loves again. Then we have Matt, one of her friends, and he is in love with her, and she's kind of keeping him at a distance because she knows that she could fall in love with him and she doesn't want that once again. So they're renovating a bus together, a school bus for her to live in as she figures out her next steps in life. And it's cute, it's fun. Then I have Strangers on deck for the last 10 pages I need to read. Yesterday I spun the wheel and I got 250 pages and I read, let me do some really quick math. I think I read about 265. Read from page 102 to 341 of Next to You by Hannah Young, which means I finished this book. And then I read 26 pages of Strangers by Bill Burden. I wanted to see what all the hype was about, I can't lie. So I started this book, didn't really know too much going into this book. Obviously it says a memoir of marriage, but after the pandemic hits her, she finds out her husband is having an affair and he decides to leave her, and so she's grappling with that. I'm not really sure what all the hype's about yet, but I'm only 26 pages in, so I'm going to remove 250 so that we don't get it again, and we're gonna spin. Okay, so that's basically what I just did yesterday. So we got 200 pages, which means that's like this whole book, I think. This book is 237 pages and I'm on page 27. It is currently 10 p.m. I still have well over 150 pages to read. However, whatever I don't finish tonight, we're rolling into tomorrow. And also the extra pages I read yesterday, we will account for in today's number. I just didn't have time to read. I mean, I definitely did. And I definitely sat on my phone for longer than I should have. But I don't want to burn myself out on reading. So I'm going to try and make this as seamless as possible. Currently eating breakfast. Let me say, didn't read anything last night. Thought I was going to. Didn't happen. So we're going to spin. Hopefully we get a small number so that I can add on the about 150 pages I had from yesterday. been. Okay. So 100 pages plus about 150. We have 250 pages to read today. Let's see if we can do that. Weeks ago, I attempted to do a 24-hour readathon and failed very quickly. And today, we are going to be trying a 12-hour readathon. What this means is I will be putting a timer on, and every time I stop reading, I stop the timer so that we can calculate 12 hours of actual reading. First, it's 3:30 p.m. So I need to run to Walmart first, grab a couple things, maybe get some boba, and then we can come back and start our challenge. Okay, I got my drink. I got a strawberries and cream with strawberry boba and honey boba because I was feeling crazy today. Yum. Walmart haul. Some Parmesan cheese, some broccoli, a red onion, some sweet tarts, and lemon pepper seasoning. I am gonna go get some of the books. Maybe I'll read. It's now 5 p.m. I am going to start reading soon. I'm going to start with Strangers by Bill Burden because obviously I'm in the middle of it. Let's get started. Let me get my timer up. Open my book. And the page I'm on, page 88. Start the timer. I've only been reading for about 45 minutes, but I'm making dinner right now, so I thought it would be the perfect time to tell you about the book that I'm reading, which is Strangers by Bill Burden. I am 144 pages into it now. I was, I think, 90 pages in when I started. Well, it's a memoir, so it's nonfiction, and Bill Burden, I don't really know much about her. Like, I don't really know who she is, besides what I've learned from the book so far. So she's talking about how her marriage kind of fell apart and how she kind of didn't see any of the signs and how she is rebuilding her life after the divorce and the separation, and how it's been difficult, obviously, because it was also at the very beginning of the pandemic. Today is a 12-hour readathon day. I am going from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. It is currently 11 a.m., which means I've been reading for 1 hour, and I started on page 56 and I'm on page 117 now, so just about 60 pages. This book is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. This book follows Mika, who is a witch, and she has been called to be a live-in tutor for this family of witches, basically. And so far, she's about a week into her trial period, and she's teaching these 3 girls how to control their magic and stuff like that. It's very fun, very Summerween vibes. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm sure I can get this book done and maybe another one in the 12 hours. Okay, I'm on page 140 now. We went eat lunch, so I haven't read anything, and it's almost 1 p.m. now, so we're about 3 hours in. I'm about halfway through, almost halfway. First hour I read 60 pages, and the second hour I read 23 pages, and then whatever I can read in the last 10 minutes is technically what I read in the third hour. We went to Dumpling Master. I got a boba. We also got lunch, but now I'm in the car waiting because my mom went into Petco. We are entering hour 7. It is 5 p.m. and I'm not done with this book yet. However, getting close. I think I can finish it in this next hour, and then I'll start another book. And I don't know if I'll finish that book. Yes. It is 10:22 p.m. I finished my 12 hours of reading, and I'm pretty content with how much I got read. Let's go through the books that I read this week. These are the 2 books that I read for the 12-hour readathon. I technically didn't read a full book in this challenge because I started The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Mandana. I was on page 56 at the beginning of the day, and then I finished it. And then I read to page 100 in Beautiful Country by Chien Julie Wong. 260 pages I read of this book, and I gave it a 4 stars. At the end of the 12-hour readathon, I read, on average, 30 pages an hour. I read a total of 359 pages. So my highest hour was the first hour from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and that was when I read 60 pages, and then closely following that was from 4 to 5 p.m. and I read 58 pages. My lowest hour was during lunchtime from 12 to 1 p.m. and that was, I read a total of 6 pages. So yay. The other book that I read in this video, I don't know if I technically talked about them, Strangers by Belle Burden. This book is a memoir of Belle's marriage falling apart in the first weeks of COVID, and so she really is trying to figure out why her husband left her, how she's going to fight back and like keep her family intact, and what she did wrong, and figuring out like what were the signs of divorce and stuff like that. It wasn't my favorite, but it was definitely interesting. So I gave this 3 stars. Then I think I read Next to You by Hannah Bonham Young as well, and I gave this 3 stars as well. It's cute romance. I think there was just nothing really like pulling me to give it any higher than a 3 stars. Like I enjoyed the writing and I enjoyed the story, but there was just nothing that like stood out to me. So that's why I give it a 3 stars. I think that's all the books that I read in this video. So I read 4 books that I can take off my physical TBR.